does this mean we need to re-educate the doctors?
That certainly is part of the foundation, yes, and not just the doctors. In fact, what we need to do is start awareness and education at school level.
Yeah.
And the curricula of our school children, of all our medical students, the healthcare professionals who are going through studies of pharmacists, etc., we have to build into the curricula.
Right.
Plus, we need to make it part of continuing medical professional education, the development of doctors who need to be educated, and we really need to get that across.
Now, what does this entail for the pharmaceutical industry, policymakers? And I think we know what it entails for the general public. So let's start with the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay. So the pharmaceutical industry, historically, I mean, pharmaceutical industry is a business. They need to generate profits. And the general model is that volume of sales drives profits. So that in itself is what could be thought of as a perverse incentive. So how do we de-link that relationship? So there are a number of different ways that one can do that. And there are pull mechanisms, push mechanisms, various mechanisms that can be used that you can actually prevent or de-link that problem from volume of sales to use. You can have funds, public funds, you can have bodies involved in oversight, you can buy patents, you can use pooling, procurement, you can use a variety of different methods. And the pharmaceutical industry in general are taking this on board. There are already public-private partnerships which are being formed to take this forward, to improve research and development. Because unfortunately, in terms of antibiotics, certainly for a large group of the bacteria, common bacteria that cause urinary tract infections, gut infections, etc., the so-called gram-negative bacteria, there are no new antibiotics coming out on the current models for the next 10 to 15 years. And again, this brings us back to Ward's declaration. What they're saying is we have to preserve the antibiotics we've got. Yeah? Forget new antibiotics at the moment. This is a crisis which needs to be attacked on many different fronts, but we're not going to see new antibiotics with the current models in the very near future for many of our really common and potentially very serious diseases.
And why is that?
Well, why is because, I mean, again, it's an issue of business, so it's an issue of profits, and it's more profitable to perhaps to generate a research and development and produce a new oncology, a cancer drug or other drugs. And really, for antibiotics, there's been no significant development in recent years. In fact, what's interesting is that the pipeline for TB has now opened up, and we're now seeing new TB drugs. You know that in South Africa and in much of sub-Saharan Africa, we have a major problem with multi-drug resistant and extremely extensively drug-resistant TB. And there are now new drugs coming out for that. And it's sort of paradoxical that we have that, but we don't have the same issue at the moment for antibiotics. So there's a huge drive at high levels to try and bring the pharmaceutical industry in and really to drive new models of research development and manufacture so we can get some new drugs in the future.
All right, and what should policymakers be doing?
So policymakers, I mean, as I said, the national government is very much, Department of Health is very much part of this initiative. The World Health Organization and the World Health Assembly have adopted this resolution, and the resolution basically states that within 1 year we have to go back to the World Health Assembly, the WHO, and have a global action plan. And so policymakers from all nations, member states, groups of interested groups, stakeholders are getting together to try and give input into what this policy, this plan would look like. And it's then incumbent on member states to develop their own national plans and put them into effect. So we don't want to see nice plans, shame about, nice resolutions, shame about the action. We really want to get started. And in fact, in South Africa, we started before this whole process. So the South African Antibiotic Stewardship Programme, this group of people have already started putting into place a number of different policies, a number of different programs to reduce antibiotic prescribing and rationalise or appropriate antibiotic prescribing. So we're already there. We need to bring in lots of other stakeholders who aren't there at the moment. The animal sector and agriculture, of course, is clearly extremely important. The military, of course, what happens in military operations if you've got multi-drug resistant bacteria around? What, insurance, the big insurance companies, health insurance companies, and the like. So this is not one person's problem.
Yeah.
This is all of our problem, and we need a multidisciplinary approach to it, and at the moment we are getting that.